My name's Chris.
And I'm Kristie.
This is the Washing Up podcast, and it's after Biscuit Week.
It is. It's post-Bickies.
It's post-Bickies.
So still eat biscuits, because biscuits are for any time.
Biscuits are for any time. They're not just for Christmas. They're not just for New Year. They're for any time.
Now, and they're not just for Passover or
Hanukkah. Oh, well, look at you being ultra-specific. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Natalie.
Woo! Welcome, Nat.
Hi, guys.
It's wonderful to get to talk to you.
Great to be here.
Obviously, we'd like to get to talk to you a bit later in the series, but, you know.
Yeah, I guess that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Oh, look, that's production right now is going, yes, we taught her well.
Bring out the biscuit puns.
I mean,
the sayings.
I mean,
Kristie will bring the euphemisms.
I mean, look, it opened with, Darren Purchase saying risk it for the biscuit. So, it was like cliches of boy all over that episode. But it is an absolute delight to get to chat to you. It's obviously sad that you obviously went home so early, but how overall did you find the experience, first of all, of just basically being in the shed?
From the minute I applied until the present, it was just the most wonderful experience. I have to say, it's better than I ever could have imagined. It was just so delightful.
Yeah. What drew you to actually apply for Bakeoff? Were you just like, oh, I've got nothing else to do today?
Basically, yes. I was at the Sweet Bake and Cake show at the Olympic Park.
Oh, yes.
And I was applying for a program called Cake Angels. It's where you make cakes and cookies for children in need. Mm-hmm. And they had a flyer on their table, and it said apply for Bakeoff. And I was sitting down, and I was having a cup of tea, and I thought, why not? And I walked outside, and I made an application video, and I applied then and there.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
I like the idea because it's very Bakeoff. I like the idea that the cup of tea was actually the thing. So what you didn't know was it was laced. And it was just one of those ones where you drunk it, and rather than drugs, it was just go on Bakeoff.
Okay.
Yes, I think it was. It was like an Alice in Wonderland type of thing.
Eat me, drink me, go on Bakeoff. Yeah.
Oh, cool. So
that's
right.
Have
you worked for Cake Angels before, or is that?
Yes, I've done work with Cake Angels. I just donated cakes and cupcakes to their annual Christmas party. Oh, that was a while ago, actually.
I know. It feels
so that
was
yesterday. A couple of months ago.
Yeah.
Not too much. Yeah. Not too much with the Cake Angels lately, but I also bake cakes for the Alfresco Community Kitchen. So I love baking, and we like to eat too much in my house, so we got to get rid of it.
It's not the underconsumption problem. It's an over catering,
overproduction.
Yes, I think that's part of my Jewish DNA.
And that was one of the things that came through really strongly.
Your ancestors are like, yes, my child, please, more baking.
That's right.
It was one of the things that came through really strongly while you were on there, talking a lot about the different recipes and things from your background, or things that were popular in your household, and sort of the style of baking and the style of food. I'm assuming that, again, baked goods are a very regular part of the everyday occurrences.
They are, unfortunately and fortunately at the same time. But no, we really enjoy our food in my family. That's been passed down from generation to generation.
Lovely. What's your favorite, to make, and then what's your favorite to consume? Or is this like choosing favorite children?
That is more intense than choosing favorite children, because I've only got 2 children to choose from, and there's about 30,000 things I like to bake and eat.
Okay.
So, all right, just ask me about my children. Ask me which one of them I like.
Which one of them? That's easy. That's easy. Look,
I love chocolate. It all comes down to chocolate in any way, shape, or form.
So
chocolate is
so just disappearing to Gav's bench and just stealing his stuff. Then just
yeah. I learned the Auslan.
That's right.
Yeah, I learned the Auslan side for chocolate over the weekend. It's like this, and that's really good for podcasting.
I was about to say that is genius for a podcast.
Yeah. So it's like a C up against your cheek, and that's chocolate, and you give it a wiggle. And
Oh, I love that.
yeah, it's not nice and easy. So chocolate.
I like the fact that the thing you went and learnt in Auslan was to ask for chocolate.
No. I think what we need to appreciate though is that the first words I've learnt in Auslan are swear words, and this is probably one of the first non-swear words I've learnt. So this is fuck you. You know, like
that's the point in this. That's an old one.
Yeah.
I learned some from Jim Jeffries. Can I show you?
Yeah. This is great podcasting.
It's very rude.
Oh, that's all right.
It's fantastic for podcasting because they can't see it.
Look,
okay, so Jim Jeffries did a bit, and it was, I believe it was this.
Ooh.
And I don't want to say what it means. You'll have to watch the Jim Jeffries special.
Okay. Everybody go watch Jim Jeffries and look up Jim Jeffries and sign in.
That's the only thing I know.
And there you go. You can work that out for yourself.
Probably. Oh yeah. Probably not on a work computer.
No.
Work device.
Only.
To be fair, we're definitely on a work-based podcast. So yeah, but like, look, this is also the woman who engaged in what I'd like to refer to as a blood feud over carrot cake. A carrot cake off, and I love the fact that it was you versus like Adam in a carrot cake off.
Yes.
The pitting against each other of two titans. It's just this.
What you didn't see.
Yes.
I imagine behind while you're waiting for the judging to go on, you're just out on the lawns with carrots jousting. Then you've got the sword fighting with the carrots.
Oh, that's so funny. If only it were like that, but not at all. Not at all.
Now, the thing I actually want to sort of start with, because in terms of like talking about things specific to your bakes, is not going to be so much ingredients or why you picked certain things, although we will get to that.
At least you didn't pick matcha.
But
oh,
no,
God.
I'm going somewhere.
For this bloody podcast and it'd be you ranting. Okay.
I'm going somewhere.
Well, that's what she... Oh, sorry. Okay, yep.
Your use of gold. Now, in episode 1, you infamously said gold means winner. Now, look, Bakeoff and gold are look, Australian Bakeoff and gold are not as synonymous. Used to be very synonymous with the former Australian judge of Canadian Bakeoff,
Rochelle Adonis,
who used so much gold leaf and loved it so much that by week 3, bakers were deliberately changing what they baked to include gold leaf, because they were like, she loves it. Was gold leaf a plan going in, or was it just something where you're like, oh, I've got it, sweet?
I have to say, I am the least bling person in the world. I don't wear any gold, and nothing's bling, nothing's shiny, but something about me in the baking comes out and it's gold.
the top of that carrot cake.
Everywhere.
The top of that
everywhere.
Carrot cake.
I take, if you look in my kitchen, there is gold everywhere. And a guy I work with, actually share a kitchen. A lovely gentleman called Alan lets me use his kitchen. And every time I'm in the kitchen, he goes home and his wife says, "Why are you covered in gold? What are you doing during the day?" And it's just me, like, using gold dust, gold leaf.
His wife's probably worried that he's actually down Circular Quay as one of those statues, the people that have painted themselves in gold.
Absolutely. Or like in the opening scene where you see Russell throwing the gold at Rachel and Darren.
Yes, Russell throwing the gold at Darren, at Darren and Rachel. That was an hilarious scene. But I'm like, now I look back on that opening scene, I am wondering if, like, Russell's throwing the gold and everyone's going, actually, that's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea. Because there was a lot of, and obviously Rachel's technical in week 1. There was put a bit of gold on top. And some people were very, what's the word I'm looking for?
Restrained
with the gold. And then there were other people who maybe were not as, I'm not going to name anybody.
They might be on the podcast.
They might be on the podcast, who the red was sort of covered in gold completely.
It was
very gold.
I would have liked, in all honesty, I like the more the merrier. But I would have liked to have a little more restraint when it came to that cake. but I'm not unhappy about it either. I think I didn't do too bad.
No, you did fine with it. It was just
that cake, but yes, a touch less gold.
Look, you can never have too much shiny, you know.
No. That was a very funny technical anyway, because you had you covering yours in gold, and meanwhile we had Sandra complaining that young people today didn't know anything about pink peppercorns, which was, you know, and again, it's my favorite young people today, why they don't know anything about pink peppercorns, and I'm like, no, you're right, they don't.
No, I was in that middle age group, so I understood the youngins, but I also heard the oldies.
Yeah.
Oh, don't tell them I said that. Don't listen if you are one of them, who I'm not mentioning any names.
No.
There is that micro generation of exennials, which, if you're like some of us on the podcast, are quite lucky to be a part of that generation that borders
straddles everything.
The millennials and the Gen Xers, and everyone just has their wars, and we just sit back and go, well, let's take the fucking best of both worlds, yeah?
100%.
And I also found it really funny, just further on the golfing before we move on, I also found it really funny that, you know, you were using all the gold, but in week one, it was Reem who made the Marie Antoinette cake. But no gold on that one. So I just assume it was because it was all on your top layer of carrot cake.
Yes, I used it all.
You used every bit of it. But look, I thought that Biscuit Week was an interesting one, because I really loved your idea for the Earl Grey and lavender with the cups and the tea bags.
They were so, and they look so pretty too. Like, I'm with Cal, I would have worn those. You know, just a little earrings, little brooch, little teacup brooch to be perfect.
No, I'm a real tea connoisseur, and I just, you know, it was just natural to do that. They were just the natural flavors and the natural shapes, and I love doing things like that.
Yeah. What are your favorite tea flavors? Your Earl Grey, or, you know?
I like there's a French Earl Grey that I really enjoy. So it's an Earl Grey with a bit of, I think that's what I used actually, with a bit of lavender and rose in it.
Yep. Nice.
I love chai as well, and green tea. I am an absolute, not matcha.
Thank you.
But I like green tea. I like white tea. I like jasmine tea. I'm a real tea girl.
Oh, excellent. We will just keep moving across the tea spectrum away from the matcha.
Yeah, we stay away from the matcha.
We'll just steer for the matcha.
But other tea flavors I'm genuinely fine with. And again, I think that especially in that first challenge, tea was the right call in terms of just the flavors you can get in those biscuits. It's one of the easy, not easier in terms of, you know, no skill, but it's easier in terms of identifiable, and like you taste it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But there had to be restraint. And I find that, obviously, as you've seen with the gold, I find restraint difficult.
They're asking, what was it for 8 biscuits, and you had to hide the other 24, I imagine. Just put those aside for Cal and Nat.
Absolutely.
Having a touch of the Gallias.
Yes.
It's like, oh, that's far too many things to produce. We only asked for 5. Which sort of brings us to the exploding wheels. So what did we? There was a quote from you in that challenge where everyone's sort of going around and they're talking about making the marshmallow, and you're like, I've not had to make the individual elements of all of this, so this will be interesting. It's a fun time to have to suddenly start to make all those elements for the first time, isn't it?
It is. You try to. You have goals of things you need to practice before you come in. You just want to try different things you're unfamiliar with, but you can't try everything. And
no,
marshmallow was not one of my things that I'd ever done before.
Have you tried making it since?
I have. I have made it since. To slightly more success, actually.
It's amazing. It's amazing when there's not time pressures and cameras.
It is amazing, isn't it? No, I haven't perfected it yet, but it is something I want to try. I actually want to make, a vegetarian one. That's my goal, a vegetarian.
But covered in gold.
Beautifully covered in
gold marshmallow.
Would it work with gold inside it too? Like, could you do gold marshmallow?
Well, the banana caramel was almost gold.
It would be even golder if you whacked gold in it.
You've given me a challenge for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Gold marshmallows.
Go
Let's see.
on. Oh wow!
Yeah.
There we go. There's a cottage industry for you.
And then you just got to make gold graham crackers, and then you can make the like
gold s'mores.
gold s'mores.
That's a whole industry of its own.
Gold s'mores.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Sounds good.
Now we'll sort of talk a bit more broadly in a minute. I want to we'll get to start with the backgammon set here, just to talk about that first, and obviously go through that last bake with you now. But then we can talk about the good, broad, and fun things.
Yeah.
I like the idea. What was it that inspired you to do the backgammon set?
Like, why no mousetrap? Why did no one do mouse anyway?
Well, one thing that I need to say is my parents had a game shop. For the last 15 years, they had owned a board game shop. So we're very into lots of different games.
Oh, excellent.
And when this challenge came to me, it reminded me, every time someone asks me, what's your favorite game? My answers are Rummy Cub and Backgammon, because they're the games I grew up with. And Backgammon, it's a special game for me. My husband and I play Backgammon almost every night. We go outside and play a game or two. But he taught me when we first met some 18 years ago. And so we play very, very often, and I now beat him. So
The student
throw
has
that
become
in
the
there. That was
master.
very important information and very to do with the Bakeoff. So I decided to make a backgammon board. Now that backgammon was to scale, an exact replica of the backgammon my grandfather brought when he immigrated from Russia in the 70s, that we still have in our family. And the same colors and the same size, like to scale. And it was a really, really special bake for me. So being evicted,
Going home.
Going home on that was it was heartbreaking for me, because there was so much love and so much memory in this biscuit that really broke my heart.
And explains why it wasn't gold, because after all that talk of gold, and I'm thinking, well,
I know
that you could have had like rose gold.
No, there was no gold left by the time I'd done all those.
And see, we talked about
how much dough did you actually make for it? Because like, I don't think I've seen such a huge pile of dough in one slab that you've covered.
There was a moment,
a lot of dough.
We mentioned it on the podcast, but when they cut to everybody making the set, they cut to past your mixer, and I don't think there was any room left in your mixer. It was flour, just as far as the eye could see.
Yeah.
And I commented, and I went,
I needed a lot of dough. I actually had 3 different biscuits. There was orange, chocolate, and tahini. And the reason I chose those flavors is because they're very Middle Eastern flavors. And so not only was the biscuit thought out as, it is a Middle Eastern game. There's many arguments of where it actually originated. But I also incorporated those flavors as well as when I made the toffee for the glue. That was rose water. Yep. So a lot of thought went into it, but there was a lot of dough. Unfortunately, one thing I do believe that my mistake was there was a bit of restraint when it came to the flavor as well, because they can be very overpowering flavors, and I didn't want to overwhelm the palate. So,
and it's always one of those things that we always talk about with Bakeoff, is that tricky balance of level. And like, usually it's things like rose that are like when people use rose, like in the first episode where Reem went, I'm going to use some rose water, and we're like, we know how this sometimes, but again, she got the balance right. It's a really tricky, and you use a fine
line with rose water between soapy and fragrant. And it's.
Are we enjoying Turkish delight, or are we enjoying a Turkish bath? It's,
very close.
Actually, I love that.
Very close. That's a really good, you need to be a judge.
I'd like to have a Turkish delight in a Turkish bath.
Can you do that? We're going to
find out. We're going to end the podcast now and just go and
There'd be a lot of gold there. Let me tell you.
You
So-
come out luster dusted with your.
Mhm.
Okay, so now you have to do the marshmallow that's rose flavored with all the gold, and it's rose gold marshmallow.
You're making my day tomorrow extremely complicated.
go.
I was
Yeah.
going to just bake a chicken
Yeah, but in the best possible way
Making
now.
Oh my God, we're
rose
making
gold
chicken tomorrow too.
marshmallow.
I'll give you my mum's recipe for stuffing. Do you stuff your chicken?
I don't know what I was going to do. I'm not good with chicken. I'm
Okay,
not as good with cooking as I am with baking. So
All
I
right.
don't know. Can you
All
send me a recipe? I need one.
I will. It's really delicious. It gives a really nice like I even make the stuffing separately for Christmas with Chris's family now because that's the thing I bring. So it's just delicious as hell.
Does it
Very
have
simple.
apricot in it?
No, it's got apples.
Ooh.
Yeah.
As long as there's a fruit.
Yeah.
It's all good. As long as there's a fruit component. Yum.
Yep.
I will just share it on the podcast, then I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
All right. So you get 4 slightly stale pieces of white bread. I know, because this is
Hold on.
passed down from my grandmother. He comes from my ancestors and probably the Women's Weekly. She's got a pen. She's ready.
Right in there.
Right. Now you cube it in roughly, centimeter-ish kind of
Cubes.
bits. You get a medium apple, grate it. You can peel it, but you don't have to. A small onion, finely diced or grated, whatever's easier for you. Now here's the piece de la resistance.
Uh-huh.
Okay, you want to get yourself a nice good tablespoon of mixed herbs. Just the generic Master Foods mixed herbs. That's the secret ingredient.
It paused until you said mixed herbs. I'm like in anticipation.
No, it's even better. That's even better.
Yeah. And then you get just an egg to combine it all. And so you pop the egg in, squish it all together. Kristie, when she got creative, added a little honey if she wanted some sweetness. I'm talking about myself in the third person.
You are.
But I don't tend to do that these days. And you can also add walnuts, but I don't tend to do that these days because I miss, it's just comfort food to me. And then with your chicken, you stuff it in the cavity. That's the fun, messy bit. Oh, yeah, you want to mix this with your hands because nothing else is going to combine it.
No.
Yeah.
I was so tempted to use my hands. I use my hands a lot on Bakeoff, and I had to show restraint there.
Yeah.
My goodness.
You didn't follow the Laurent lead of dipping your finger in your mixed and going, that's the thing?
Yeah.
No, I tried not to.
So with the stuffing, really pack it into the cavity, but there's going to be a bit, and this is the best bit to eat, that kind of sticks out the cavity, and that's fine because that stuff goes nice and brown and crispy. So the bit out of the cavity is kind of like the best bit.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. And then a bit of olive oil, salt, pepper on the skin, and probably about 50 minutes in an oven. That's about, tend to do it about 180, 190, but it depends on the size of the chicken. I will have my ancestors talk to your ancestors because at this point when I'm cooking the chicken, it's all about, until my ancestors tell me it's done. And you get that nice brownness on it. Don't bother flipping it over.
I love that.
Yeah. It's the only thing. Oh, that and
is this the first time you guys have shared a recipe on your podcast?
No, we've done it before.
Have we?
Yeah, I can't remember what it was. We have shared recipes before.
Probably not mine.
Good.
I think I talked about my duck sausage rolls before.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
So it's very simple.
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh yeah, duck sausage rolls.
It's on my Instagram. It's on the washing up Instagram. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
So
They're top notch.
they're top notch.
Yeah.
So Kristie, when you were in the Bakeoff shed, no, hang on a minute. No, that was you. So
I'm just doing that Auslan
sign right now at me. Yeah, you are.
You.
So in terms of to bring it back to something in there,
and not the chocolate one.
no, I felt sort of bad at the start because like your first bake, the whole sort of crux of that was when you went with the spun sugar. And when I hope that the shed is kind to me in terms of humidity, and veterans at home who have seen the show when know the temperature of that shed, you're possibly in trouble here.
Yeah.
Was that
it's
something?
hot in there.
Yeah, she's warm. Was that something where you looked at it and went, yeah, probably could have gone with something else there.
Did you see the moment when it was on the cake? How beautiful!
It looks stunning big.
Yeah. One moment it was on the cake, and it looked amazing.
There was a shining moment.
Do I regret it? Should I have used isomalt maybe, which is sugar's safer sugar glass friend? Maybe,
I mean, if
maybe not.
I mean, if you were everyone else,
taste as good.
But I wanted to I wanted to try it with sugar.
Fuck yeah.
If you were everyone else in week 1, what you wanted to do was use wafer paper.
Yeah, wafer paper.
Or rice paper. Because there was, I swear Officeworks had a deal. So much wafer
I've got
paper.
a very, very funny thing with baking, not to use anything inedible at all.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I know it's edible, but it's unpleasant. I didn't mean it in a bad way. I just had some crazy things. So everything had to be edible, which actually brings me to something interesting about those the tea bag cookies. Yeah. I had made a little Great Australian Bakeoff paper thing on a string to put on each cookie, so it looked like a tea bag. And I decided not to use it because I didn't want to put anything inedible on it.
Yeah, and that's sort of the right, and that's something that's not just been with this. This has been in all sort of series where people have gone, no, you really want to make everything in a bake edible. They talked about it with Laurent with the durian cake and using the outside, and they were like, no, it should be edible. Last season in the first episode, Matt Moran in the first episode last season was like, don't put edible things on a cake because like you want to cut into it and eat it.
And I think you were being caring and kind to the new hosts as well, because they wouldn't have, I don't think they would have had the experience to know what was and what wasn't inedible, and when they're stealing the biscuits.
Well, it was a shame in the first episode when I'd made my cake, my showstopper.
Yeah.
Darren actually cut it right down the middle. Yeah. From top to bottom, and there wasn't anything in it, and it was just like perfect.
Yeah.
And that cake was actually that wasn't just a carrot cake, that was a lemon pound cake and a strawberry genoise sponge, and the carrot cake was the top layer.
Yeah.
So the small little gold layer was the only actual carrot cake. The rest was other cakes. And it was just cut through, and he cut it through. It looked so beautiful, and I'm sad that we didn't get to see that.
I hope they release it in like some kind of like bonus footage, so we can all just
the bloopers footage.
You know what it was? It was too hot for TV, because a good cross section.
Good cross section.
Right. They didn't want to make other bakers look bad.
No, exactly. That's 100% the problem.
Or get too hot and steamy for the audience. Them all just going, "Oh, that's a good."
Exactly. Didn't want to have any wet seats.
Yeah.
So it's one of the things that everyone talks about as well is that the speed at which everybody sort of makes connections in there, and it seemed again like another group where everyone in your group sort of bonded really fast. What's that experience like when you walk into a brand new group of people and you're like, oh, hi, new friends?
Well, I remember the first night we all met, the night before we started, and it was awkward and shy, and we were kind of feeling each other out. 24 hours later, it was like we'd known each other forever, because that you're together for a long, long time. But it was so lovely. It was so lovely, just like-minded people, and everyone was lovely. I don't know if I assume not all reality TV shows are so full of loveliness, and
I can't imagine maths would have the same.
Yeah, no, I didn't want to name names, but that's what came to mind. It was just it wasn't competitive. It was supportive. It was such a supportive, and I don't know if it's like that in every other season. It looks like it is. But it was such a supportive group, and it was really, really lovely. And it was so nice to meet all those different people, different flavors, different cultures, different backgrounds, different everything. And thrown together, and got this one amazing thing in common. Yeah, everything was, diverse, and it was just lovely. Just that one thing in common just bonded us.
Yeah. And again, as you sort of said, you get everyone's different baking backgrounds too. So you get completely different styles, Laura using pandan early on, and then you get, obviously Neil and Alona doing very sort of clean, very crisp traditional style baking, and then you've got Reem who's using a
TikTok,
which they were like that too. They're very pristine and clean.
Yep. And
Can
then
I ask though?
Yep.
So Reem's a TikToker.
Yeah.
Was she
She
dancing in
definitely is.
between? Was she doing some TikTok
She is
dances?
a tech genius.
Yeah.
Reem.
Yeah.
Wow,
It's-
she is impressive.
And it's one of the things that I really like when we mentioned it on the podcast. Now, I mean, things like marshmallow icing is something that marshmallow fondant is something that it's an old sort of trick, but it's come back again because of TikTok. And
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And as we said, one of the things we really enjoyed sort of watching, and this is something you can speak to being in there, is that different ages and different cultures and different backgrounds, like Reem starting to bring in some of those Bakeoff tricks, which are like older things that have come back again and are new again, but work really well. And like the vibrancy
Reem
of the
has
colour.
the perfect balance of old school and young.
Yes.
You know, she's got everything. You know, she's got old family recipes and culture and traditions, and she's got the TikTok stuff and all the new stuff. So
Not feeling it all.
She's phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm not feeling old at all when we call it the TikTok.
The TikTok.
The TikTok.
I know,
Or the Facebook.
TikTok.
The TikTok, yes.
All of the
The
toxic
Facebook and the Instagram.
No, the Instaface.
We're now on the Zoom.
Oh,
yes,
excellent.
on
yes.
the Zoom with the Instaface. No, as the old people would say.
Is there anything that you'd like to bring back? You know, that's old school. I say that when it's like we're the same age. You know, like the old school, the Women's Weekly kids cookbook. That's what I say.
Yeah,
but,
you see, we had that cookbook as a kid. I still got that cookbook, my mum's. She made me every cake from that cookbook.
Yep.
Every cake, the piano,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
you know, the pool,
Yep.
the train.
We've
I had
done
all those cakes growing up.
What was your favorite?
It was funnily enough, like the gold. It was the makeup table. There was a little beauty table that was pink, and
Your
it had
mum
all
made-
little pretty things in it.
Oh
A
my
little lipstick and a little blush. And my mum's an excellent baker. That's who I learned from. So
we've talked about that. We've talked about that cookbook more times on this podcast than I care to remember. I actually bought Kristie the reissued copy of it a couple of years ago for a birthday.
yeah, I've got that one too.
Yeah, because like we had the original at home. I think everybody had the original at some point.
That was cakes in the 1980s.
I had for some reason I had every variation of the clock cakes, which I can't work out why. I had no fascination with clocks. I had no fascination with mice, but I got every variant of the clock cake at some point in time. I did get the swimming pool.
Okay, lucky.
Swimming pool's good.
Swimming pool's fantastic. The bullets around the outside. Look, and Reem sort of borrowed that idea for the jelly on the first one.
She just did. She upscaled it. She made it more sophisticated.
She did.
But yes,
she
was
did.
like-
Rose and pistachio was not in the Women's Day cookbook.
It was the
no.
the ivy, not the pull down. You know, it wasn't Urco pool. Ashfield pool. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
It's really interesting to watch that sort of blending of the different ages of baking. It's like historical periods now, but it's true. The different ages of baking, and you get these like older techniques, and then you get the more sort of the classically trained style techniques, and then you get some of the other old cheap ones like the marshmallow fondant that now come back through things like Bakeoff and becoming
Bakeoff.
it's a thing. Bakeoff is a thing.
Apparently,
Bakeoff is a thing.
Is it?
Yeah.
got to get on.
I've got to
the
get on
hashtag.
Bakeoff.
Yep.
Yeah. So with your background and your family, so the Jewish side, the Russian side, but also that Middle Eastern, because of the the transient nature of the Jewish culture, is there anything that is not specific to your family, but from your kind of let's talk to the ancestors. That is.
Let me summons them.
Yeah. That may not be so well known outside of your kind of family or immediate community. I know.
Like different types of foods.
Yeah, or baking. Yeah.
It was all very simple. Whatever my grandmother baked, it was all simple.
Yeah.
The most delicious thing that she made were these little They were like a sour cream and a dried fruit pikelet, and that is the most. That's my childhood. In that, the most simple. I don't remember what they're called. They're like little pikelets, and I mean that was just delicious. And you dip it in sour cream, which in Russian culture you have sour cream on everything.
Mm-hmm.
And
sour cream on it. No,
sour cream in your borscht, in your beetroot soup.
Yep.
It's a very, very interesting. And then from my mother's side, with my mum's English, and there was biscuits. It was biscuits and old English things, and there's food is an incredible nostalgic thing.
Yeah,
because it's something you're exposed to. Like music and food. You're exposed to it your whole life, and it's an incredible it's amazing tradition in all cultures, in all families.
And I'm going to have to get the recipe of those little pikelets because they sound delicious. Yeah.
I'm going to make you some.
Oh, excellent.
Done. Even better.
Yeah.
We'll exchange details when we
exactly. You get my family stuffing, I get your family's pikelets.
Exactly.
It's
you get
fair
my
exchange.
You come to me on the day of the pikelet.
Now I want to eat those pikelets. I want to go make some. I'm hungry.
Well, you got to do that after the stuffing. You're already busy, and also the new marshmallows that you're making.
Yes, the gold marshmallows.
I'm busy day tomorrow now.
Yeah,
but it's obviously
just don't stuff the marshmallows into the chicken; it'll be all wrong, and then your kids will be making s'mores out of stuffing. Going, Mom,
I don't like that modern fusion stuff. That's not my thing. It's a bit.
No, keep it simple.
But that's sort of, again, it's one of the things we've talked a lot about. We talked to Darren Purchase about it, and Guillermo talked a little bit about that too last week when we're talking about that idea of using food across cultures, and food being something that is really good for sort of leveling between cultures and helping people sort of bridge those different gaps. And we see that a little bit with obviously, as you mentioned, we've mentioned the different ages. You've talked about your cooking background as well. It's one of the things that I think Australian Bakeoff does quite well compared to other versions of Bakeoff, not naming British, but we're not doing tacos. It's embraces that different cultural side rather than go, oh, you must just do the classics. Is do something different.
Yeah, I think that's what makes it so unique and so special. People want to learn about different flavors, different cultures, different classics to different people. So it's wonderful.
Yeah. So now that you're out of the shed, you've entered the real world again. I mean, it's been about 6 months since it's filmed. What have you been up to, and what have you got up your baking sleeve apart from gold dust?
Lots of gold dust. I've been doing a lot of baking. It's the Bakeoff was really I felt it was just the beginning of the journey. I've learned so much since. I wish I could do it again, because now I feel like I'm a better baker.
Yeah.
So I've been doing a lot of baking, made a little business out of it, doing catering,
So where can people find that?
Yes. What
plug?
Pardon?
Where can people find that business? Plug.
So my business is called Sweet as Funk, which is, I think that is me. I'm sweet, but a little sass as well. Just food, anything from fairy cakes to cockies, whatever.
And now, more importantly, stuffing, which is now something that's amazingly on the menu.
Gold marshmallows and stuffing.
Stuffing. You've just added to what you produced.
I've extended my repertoire.
I'm now expecting to see pictures of your roast chicken with my stuffing on it, but the stuffing's like luster dusted.
100%. I'm thinking about spraying this chicken gold.
Now,
golden.
Yeah.
Now we were talking obviously about obviously you had the slight misfortune with.
I mean, it's quite funny because it is the whole cook till golden. I don't think that's.
I take that way too literally.
Like, I wanted to go a bit faster. Hang on a minute, I'll just throw the gold. It's done. So obviously there was the obviously the misfortune with the Backgammon set, but I think the bigger issue was that you didn't say it on camera. But in the judging, they did say that, Natalie did say to us that this was, a week that she was looking to do really well in. So
did you?
It feels like you fell into the one of the oldest Bake-Off traps that is out there, which is
confidence.
No, that this is my week trope. Because there's a thing we always say to people to make sure that you never say anywhere near the shed.
The baking gods just go, hubris, you're dead.
The baking gods just go, you out. And like we've said all the way along, never say the words, "This is my week." The baking gods will go, really? Turn the oven up.
I did feel confident that week. I don't remember if I said it.
You probably said it,
but I definitely thought it. And
they read your mind.
And I think I did pretty well in the first challenge.
Yeah.
And I thought that I had done well in the technical. I was shocked. I thought that I had done well. It looked neat. I finished it quickly. I thought I'd done well. I don't know why. And then that just blew me. Is it blew me for a 6? I'm sure it's not.
Hit you for a 6.
Knocked me for 6.
Blew me for a 6.
Whatever it is for a 6.
It did something for 6.
Something threw me for a 6. Whatever. Yes, that thing. So that just really, I just kind of that just.
It's the Bake-Off.
It was the
Bake-Off. It was the Bake-Off gods. It was the Bake-Off gods. We'll blame the Bake-Off gods. They did it.
Yeah.
Their fault.
I honestly don't.
Yeah, there's a very there's a proverb that said, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans.
Yep.
And
there you go. You thought your plans. That's the
right.
scene.
I thought my plans.
It's the scene in Ghostbusters where Ray thinks of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and suddenly he appears out of nowhere, and it's like, no, I thought about it. I didn't say it. I thought about it. Same thing. You're like, this is my week, and the gods went, aha!
I tempted fate.
Exactly.
Let's knock that chippy off her stool there and show her this isn't your week.
But that's
all good.
I don't think that you had any reason not to be confident. Like yourself and Galia might not have had the strongest week, but what you produced, I look at everyone and what they're producing in the shed, and I think I couldn't do that with all the time in the world from home. That backgammon set, to have it look like a backgammon set. Like, you didn't make I don't know.
The Snoresberries look like Snoresberries.
Yeah. Like if I'd have tried that, it probably would have looked like
it. It was completely usable.
Yeah.
You could play with it. You could roll the dice and play with it.
And look,
exactly.
I think you can feel, the thing you can feel good about is that you went on what ended up being a very high quality showstopper. Like, across the board, the level of detail on that is one of the highest levels of detail across the board ever. It wasn't like it was, a showstopper that happened and it was like, it didn't go very well for people. And no, it was just a ridiculously high quality. And especially in the early weeks, it's something where someone's got to go early. And a lot of the time it's
100%.
Yeah. And a lot of the time, it's the quality is so high that you can go home and go, look, it didn't quite work the way I wanted, but it was still good. And it still came out the way that I wanted it. And it had the look that you wanted in terms of the representation of family.
You know what? I at the end of the day, what did I do but stay true to myself?
Exactly.
Oh, beautiful.
And what I wanted to do. And what can I say? And it was an amazing experience. And I wouldn't change a thing.
No, and you shouldn't. I think you should be very proud of yourself. Like, I think that, Bake Off is such a beautiful show, and it's not about people going on and trying to inflate their egos and marry people at first sight and tear each other down.
That would be a weird Bake Off.
Psychoanalyzed.
That would be a weird Bake Off.
And
then, marry people.
That would be a bit odd.
And then vote each other out around a campfire. Like, it's people going on who have a genuine love and passion for food, which you obviously do, and you've shared that with all of us in Australia. And I think that we're very grateful for you taking that step and picking up that little entry form when you're at Angel Bakes and going, all right, I'll give this a bill.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's again, it's that
No,
idea of having a go at it. So, and that's the important
No,
thing.
I'm super proud. I'm super proud of myself. It's a great thing to show my kids, you know, to have the courage. It takes courage. That's not, takes courage. So
Takes
I am
courage
super proud of myself. I would have liked to have stayed on a little bit longer.
Of course.
But, I keep on begging to do a second chance Bakeoff.
Yeah.
We've floated that idea many times. We've put that forward.
Yeah, no, say me. Tell them I'll be a good girl next time.
like
I won't use
RuPaul.
all the goals.
Yeah, like pork chopping on RuPaul.
Which we talked about with
Guillermo, the
yeah.
pork chop, like from RuPaul, bringing back the
Exactly.
eliminated.
So thank you very much, Natalie,
These
for coming on.
dead intruders, like
We
Big
really
Brother.
we really appreciate you coming on the podcast and having a bit of a chat to us. It's been an absolute delight to get.
Thanks so much for having me. It was so much fun.
Oh no, it's genuinely our pleasure. Again, so people can follow you Instagram, Sweet as Funk, obviously.
Sweet as Funk.
Yep.
Yeah. That's
and
me.
And obviously, look out for the brand new range of marshmallows and stuffing. Coming very soon to a kitchen
We're
table.
going into business together. We're now business partners.
Excellent. You bring the funk, I'll bring the stuff.
Good. I love it.
Nice
I love
work.
it.
So thank you very much. Thank you very much, Natalie, for joining us. It's been fantastic. Until next time, I'm still Chris.
And I'm still Kristie.
And we will catch you all later.